Hey Joe, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Doing well. Nice to have you on the episode or on the podcast finally here.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
Of course, you got the TLC gear going on. I like it.
Proper branding.
I like
always.
it. Yeah. Very nice. Yeah, it's great to have you on. Joe Hasenfratz from the Logistix company. Obviously a good partner for TCC and proud to work with you guys and do a lot of different stuff with you guys. I figured just jump right into it since it's the first time we've had you on the episode. Maybe if you want to just give a brief intro on TLC as a company as well as yourself and your background.
Absolutely. Well, thank you again for having us. As a representative for TLC, it's great to be here and all the support the TCC provides to TLC as their freight forwarder. As TLC, the 3PL that we are, very diverse company, focusing in on liquid bulk, dry bulk, LTL, import, export, a very diverse freight forwarder that we are. So me personally, started with the company just about a year and a half ago. So certainly an interesting time to be jumping into things in the freight industry, just given
You don't say.
all the challenges that 2020 kind of threw our way. So TLC as a company is very nimble in being able to traverse all of the challenges that 2020 threw our way, and as a result, we're actually in a great position right now to continue to grow, and we're thriving in this current marketplace right now. So coming on to TLC, I came from a sales and customer service background, so transitioned as the sales and marketing manager quite nicely, to be honest with you. And they brought me on to grow the business even more. So 2020, like we said, definitely threw us a big curveball. But TLC, having such a diverse portfolio of different avenues that we work within, really provided an excellent opportunity for us to take the next step as a company. So.
Yeah, and I know there's the four things that you guys kind of focus on, whether that's truck freight, LTL freight. You guys do a bunch of rail stuff as well as managing imports and exports.
Absolutely.
Be good to obviously have you on episodes somewhat frequently, whether it's monthly or every other month or whatnot. But I think just looking at a list of kind of the core four things you guys are focusing on, I think the most timely or difficult thing these days has been the import, export, dealing with the ports.
Absolutely.
So what's going on there? What's the 2 cents if you've maybe not been paying attention for the last couple months?
Yeah, I mean, if that isn't at the forefront of your mind, if you're moving anything internationally, the ports have been challenging, to put it lightly.
And I think one thing to maybe add to that too, as you're talking about what's happening, is there's a lot of companies, there's a lot of supply chain issues in the U.S. So there's a lot of companies, especially that TCC is dealing with, that historically have not done much import export.
Sure.
So there's some companies that are good at it, understand it. There's other companies that buy significant volumes, typically from domestic sources, and now they're relying on import export.
Correct.
And maybe they're not familiar with it. So
yeah,
we've got a couple different kinds of companies too.
And it's a trickle down effect. If you're not directly importing or exporting, you're probably at some part of the supply chain being affected by it. So anything coming out of China right now is extremely difficult to get your hands on any product in a timely fashion, or what we were used to pre-2020. Compound that with, if you do happen to get it on a vessel headed out of China, Port of LA is backed up like you wouldn't believe. Lead times are the most critical, and when we're talking about anything to do with the ports, communication is key. So whether you're downstream and your customer's expecting this product, we're trying to give them as much heads up that a normal 1 to 2 weeks, what used to be, is now 3 to 4 weeks potentially. Yeah. And it's definitely challenging trying to find some drayage companies to get it out of port in a timely fashion, even when it does finally land and get cleared. So on the East Coast, again, it's just a matter of what port you're actually looking to get it into. We have some great carriers, personally at TLC, that can get out of port, New York, New Jersey very quickly. Savannah, we found a ton of success within. Houston, obviously, is another key port for us, just with all the manufacturers and end users that are down there.
Yeah, and I think historically, obviously, import-export is a relatively large part of TCC's business. Historically, the issues have just been getting material on the boat and then getting it to the States. Now it's, okay, the material's at the States and it's taking 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks just to get out of the port. That's a brand new thing here in the last couple months.
Yeah.
It's been quite challenging.
Yeah, I wish we had better news that the outlook would be better, but from every carrier we've been talking to, that does not seem to be the case in the very near future. But like anything, it just takes time. They'll clear the ports out. as demand kind of wanes a little bit and more and more manufacturers finally get their hands on everything, we're hoping that this will, knock on wood, clear up within the next 5 to 6 months, but just in time for the big Christmas haul. So we'll see.
And as you're talking to customers who are dealing with import-export, what is the feedback? What is the advice? Is it just expect delays, flexibility?
Yeah, so, and we wish we had better news, but it's typically just, what used to be, again, 1 to 2 weeks is now 3, 4, 5+ weeks. So when we discuss ports, it's always best to try and get the port closest to your end destination, just knowing full well that there will have to be a little bit of a lag in the time that end customer is going to be getting that product. But it's a lot easier for us to find carriers who can do a one-day point than it used to be anything over, 200, 300 miles. Now that we're seeing some difficulty in securing carriers for any of those what are now considered longer hauls when it comes to the drayage companies.
Yeah. And one of the other things, obviously moving inland, that's a major focus for you guys is bulk trucks, whether it's dry vans or liquid bulk. I think liquid bulk's probably, I guess, one of your biggest product lines, right?
Absolutely. That's kind of the pillar that we started the company on was liquid bulk. And we've since expanded to a lot more dry bulk, but liquid bulk, we have quite a carrier portfolio there.
And so moving inland with domestic customers and moving freight around inland, what has trucking been like? What is the inland freight looking like these days, both for the liquid front and the dry front?
Yeah, it's definitely challenging still, but we're starting to see a lot of success. Dry, especially, where we're finding a ton of success moving any product that needs to move there. We also move intermodally with the rail and along those lines, and we've actually seen half the time that anybody moving with a tank truck or a dry bulk truck is just as competitive as it used to be. That moving anything via rail was far and away, the cheaper or more competitive option, and at this point, that's almost no longer the case in many options. So. Having that deep carrier portfolio that we do have has certainly given us an advantageous leg up on moving all of those products for sure.
So have you been pointing people to be doing more rail, less rail, looking at intermodal? Is it what
I mean, we'll certainly price it out and look and see what is the best option in any scenario, especially if it's longer than a one-day point. But right now, anything coming from West Coast to East Coast, especially out of California, that's almost certainly not the case anymore.
Yeah.
Dry vans or liquid bulk is almost always just as competitive, if not more competitive than what rail provides us.
Yeah, and probably one of the biggest assets to working with a company like TLC or any 3PL that has these connections with all these different forms of freight. Rather than just having to look at trucks, if you can look at, have connections like you guys do with rail, with all these different options, it's a great asset.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the last big thing I know we could do with you guys is the LTL piece, small orders. As much as we love to move tank trucks and rail cars, there's always the 2, 4, 6, 8 pallet orders.
Absolutely.
What's going on with LTL freight?
LTL is, I think, even pre-COVID, one of the bigger headaches in trying to get something moved in a very competitive fashion. But we do have awesome connections within LTL carriers. So moving anything, whether it's East Coast to West Coast or vice versa, we have some really great connections to get all of our products moving in the time frame that they initially had requested, and kind of get some answers for our customers as to what's going on and tracking and all of those. So it's again another challenging aspect of the business that we work within, but we got some really great partners that help make that much easier for us.
Do you think you're seeing more delays with LTL, less delays compared to like full truckloads and bulk?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, it's just the trickle down effect of everything, and there's just a massive demand across the board for everything to be moving right now. So there's a backlog across the entire freight industry in trying to get your product.
Yeah. So I guess amongst those whole formats of freight, if you had like a 10-second elevator pitch for a customer on what your 2 cents is for, today's the end of July, so looking at July, August, September, I mean, what is the short pitch to customers on what to be expecting with freight these days?
Yeah, so I think it's got to be open communication, realistic expectations as far as what your product is going to land and eventually get to your end user. The longer that you can give us as far as the lead time, the better off and the more successful we'll be in helping you to get that to your end user. And then again, like I said, just open communication going both ways. There's delays across the board in every single avenue, and sometimes we don't like to deliver bad news, but you have to deliver bad news sometimes. And I think TLC does a great job of working with our carriers to make sure that we minimize those opportunities if there is bad news that has to be delivered.
Yeah. And obviously the world's opening up. We got some travel here planned for the fall. I understand what's coming up for the next couple months here.
So TLC will be exhibiting at the ChemEd show down in San Antonio in a few weeks here. We got a couple more shows in September that will be down in Charleston for the fertilizer conference. We'll be going down to there's a rail show that will be down in Portland, Maine at the end of September, and then there's another big trucking opportunity. That's the Mid-American Truck Show that we'll be attending as well in September. So
Nice.
TLC will be out in full force in these next couple of months and looking to grow not only our customer base, but as our partner portfolio as far as the carriers go as well.
Yeah, obviously a unique time for you to start the role at TLC. Obviously, I think the industry is very much face-to-face and conferences and things like that. So obviously difficult to get a basket of business going via remote avenues. So I'm sure you're excited to get back out there.
Absolutely, yeah. We've had some success just in the past year and a half. We've been up and running with myself as the sales and marketing manager, but looking to leaps and bounds grow that in the next couple of months here and going forward. So
yeah. Well, it's great having you on the podcast. Hopefully
you,
we'll have you on in some sort of semi-regular capacity.
Absolutely, love to.
Maybe start giving some people some good news here at some point soon.
Yeah, exactly.
But again, thank you for joining.
Absolutely.
We'll link up TLC's website and your email address down below in the show notes wherever you're streaming the podcast. And look forward to having you on again soon.
Thank you. Look forward to being here.
Thanks, Joe.